Hey there, my name is Anthony Romano, and this video is going to talk about the role of protein on a keto diet and where your protein should be at so that you fully understand when you should have higher intake and when you shouldn't. So many people on a ketogenic diet have hit me up and they've said, hey, I've noticed that my performance has suffered even after the adaptation period in keto. Now, with any fat loss diet, you always run the risk of having lower energy. And with the adaptation period, which is the first typically 4 weeks of a keto diet, you can never expect your performance to raise dramatically. Some people notice it right away, some people don't. Either way, you can only have a severe expectation for your performance to increase after you've been adapted. Anytime before then, it's up in the air. This is while your body's learning to use fat as its primary fuel source. So, after that point, I always preach that you can definitely have performance enhancements, and I personally feel that way myself. But here is why. The reason why is because your body gets better at using fat and carbs. So, you're probably thinking, I don't eat carbs, how is my body getting better at using carbs? This is because your body gets better at turning protein and glycerol into carbs. This is called gluconeogenesis. This is where your body is creating more carb energy from proteins and fats. And a lot of people are afraid of this because they think that if they eat too much protein, it's going to kick them out of ketosis. Here's a piece of information that will shock you, maybe. Anytime you eat anything on a keto diet, if it spikes your insulin a little bit, you will temporarily be out of ketosis for a short period of time. The higher in its insulinogenic property, the larger amount of time you're not going to be in ketosis for. So this is why whey protein is a big thing, and this is why people tend to be afraid of whey protein on a keto diet. It's because the insulin spike will temporarily halt ketosis. However, you'll hop back in once that's settled. With any protein source on a keto diet, you need to make sure you're getting enough total throughout the day, because if you're not, especially if you're already in a calorie deficit, what's going to happen is your body is not going to have enough stored muscle glycogen. All the carbs that you're creating are going to be going into your muscles, and you need those for performance. So you don't need to eat the carbs. In fact, this is probably the way that your body prefers to get the carb load, through good amounts of protein, because if you think about it, back in the hunter-gatherer days, if somebody was a really good hunter, they'd be eating lots of meat, right? Fatty meat, fats and proteins. And the more skilled you were at hunting, the more meat you would have supply. So basically, the more animals you were killing, the more protein you were getting, the more of that muscle glycogen repair, the more amino acids you get, etc., etc. So, for most people, nowadays we're told don't eat more than 20% protein on a keto diet or else you'll be out of ketosis. This is a myth because this is something that just allows people to sell the keto diet more. You don't have to hit a magic ratio. You don't have to hit 70 whatever fat and 20% protein or else you won't be ketosis. The only requirement is to not have carbohydrates. So, your body will be able to produce carbs from protein and fat way more effectively if you keep those carbs out of the picture. And after the adaptation period takes place, you'll be producing adequate amounts of carbs for your high intensity activity. The thing is, you need to make sure you're getting enough protein. Too many people shoot themselves in the foot because they're going for 20% protein and they're already in a calorie deficit and they're doing CrossFit 5 times a week, bodybuilding training 6 times a week, whatever it is, sports training, doesn't matter. If you're a very active individual, you need to make sure you're getting enough protein. I generally place that around 30% of your calorie intake. Of course, depending on how dropped your calories are, this is going to vary. But around 30% is generally what works for a lot of people. Don't be afraid to hit a little closer to 40 some days, as long as your carbohydrates are low. That is the primary indicator of ketosis, is the primary factor that's going to create that ketogenic state. So, even if you have temporary blood sugar spikes from too much protein, right? Even if you overdo it a little bit, that's all right, because that's going to go into your muscles. It's not going to be something that's going to cause spillover or for you to gain fat. So you don't have to worry about this. The most important thing is making sure that you're prepared for your intense training. And I know for me, I always feel like even if my calories are very low, if I get enough, even if I overshoot the protein at the same time, I'll feel better in my workout than if I had undershot the amount of protein and maybe I got a little bit more calories total. So overall, the role of protein, get enough. If you don't have enough, it could affect your performance. Don't let this video influence you to think that your performance is going to drop on keto, because I have plenty of videos on that as well, and I actually put up a video of how my lifts have increased while I'm on keto throughout the entirety of my cut, 40 plus pounds lost, and basically I also got fat on purpose because I wanted to prove that you could lose weight and gain strength, because I've been doing this for 7 years. So as far as your concerns with, gaining strength on a keto diet, it's totally possible while you're losing fat. There are just other things you have to consider, such as making sure you're not shooting yourself in the foot with your protein intake. And of course, active individuals are going to have a higher threshold. At the end of the day, you don't necessarily need carbs, but of course there's always times to implement them properly. And you can watch my videos on that as well if you're interested. I'll probably have a video on every question you could have. That's my goal. So beyond that, get enough protein. If you don't, your body's going to take the protein from its stored muscles. This is the same for any fat loss diet where you're in a calorie deficit. Your body is always going to take the same amount of protein every single day. And, maybe if you trained a little harder that day, it'll take a little bit more. But it'll take the same amount of protein every single day and convert it into glucose and convert it into that stored muscle glycogen. So you don't have to worry that if you eat more protein, your body's going to turn more create more carb energy out of it. Your body will create more carb energy out of a higher amount of protein, but it's just going to go into your muscles. It's not going to kick you out of ketosis or ruin your keto diet or anything like that, okay? Eating anything will temporarily halt ketosis, but this is a spectrum. It's not black and white. So hopefully this gave you some insight into proper protein intake on a keto diet. Of course, there are considerations where protein will show up as glucose in your blood, but this is not necessarily a bad thing. You don't need to be afraid of protein. You don't have to hit a magic ratio of protein to fat. All you have to do is cut out the carbs. From there, extra muscle glycogen will be beneficial if you're a highly active individual. Hopefully this video was precise and answered your questions. Leave me some more questions about protein intake on keto down below if you want some more answers, and check out my other videos for other keto questions. Also, go to my website, romanoketo.com, if you want some online coaching, day-to-day, holding you accountable, giving you tips no matter what. Thanks a lot. Anthony Romano. Peace.